Nathan's enough hung in the air, heavy as the night itself. The smirk on Amara's lips faltered just a little when she heard the edge in his voice, not rage, but something sharper. A strain under control. For a moment, neither moved. The city lights painted faint gold and silver lines across their faces. Twin shadows staring at each other in a room suddenly too small. Amara tilted her head slightly. Softer now. Then tell me, Nathan, are they true? His jaw flexed, and for the first time since she had known him, he looked away. Not evasive, protective, like someone guarding a wound. You want gossip to play with? He said, voice low. Find another man. I'm not giving you mine. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. It wasn't a denial, wasn't a confession, was a wall. Yes, but a wall that whispered of something behind it worth hiding. Before she could answer, the soft vibration of a phone shattered the fragile silence. Nathan's hand moved fast, grabbing the device from the nightstand. One glance at the screen and his whole body went still. Amara sat up. Who is it? He didn't answer. He swung his legs off the bed, muscles taut, and strode to the window. The city sprawled below, glittering and indifferent. Nathan. Her voice cut through the hum of the AC. His thumb hovered over the screen before he killed the call. When he turned back, his face was stone. They moved the meeting. Amara blinked. The terrace. Midnight. 11 now. A cold ripple slid down her spine. So you're going? Yes. He grabbed the charcoal shirt from a chair and pulled it over his head in one smooth motion. Amara stood too, the robe whispering around her legs. You promised you'd tell me everything. His eyes met hers, hard, unwavering. If I come back, you'll hear it all. Her heart skipped. If you're not going alone, she said. I am, he replied. You said you wanted this marriage to work in society's eyes. And play your part, Amara. Stay here. Be asleep when your uncle prowls at dawn. She stepped closer, close enough to smell the faint trace of soap and steel on his skin. Do you think I care about appearances right now? His voice softened, almost gentle. You care about control. This is mine. Let me have it. She wanted to argue, wanted to demand, claw at that wall he kept between them. But something in his gaze, calm, resolute, carrying weight she couldn't name, rooted her to the spot. Nathan slipped his gun from the drawer of the nightstand and checked the magazine with practiced ease. The sight of it against the pale light made her breath catch. This wasn't the quiet bodyguard or reluctant husband. This was the soldier. He paused at the door, hand on the knob, then looked back. Lock it behind me and Amara. She swallowed. What? Don't open it for anyone but me. The door clicked shut, leaving her in the dim room with the ghost of his warning vibrating in her chest. Amara sank onto the bed, fingers clutching the sheet. For the first time that night, the whispers about his past, the rumors about his scars, all of it faded beneath a single terrifying thought. What secret could make Nathan Cole smile like that at a stranger and carry a gun into the dark? And more. Chilling what, if the truth, when it came, changed everything she thought she wanted from this marriage. The clock read 10:39. Each minute felt like a heartbeat. 10:47 p.m. The penthouse felt cavernous without him. Every sound seemed louder. The whisper of the AC, the muted tick of the clock, even her own breathing. Amara paced the room once, twice, then forced herself to sit on the edge of the bed. She hated waiting. She never waited. Her fingers toyed with the crumpled note still on the nightstand. Your secret is safe. Meet me at midnight on the terrace if you want the truth to stay buried. Buried. The word crawled under her skin. 11:03 p.m. far below, the hum of the city continued, oblivious. She stared out the window, willing herself to spot movement. A sign. Him, but the terrace 3 floors down was nothing but shadow and moonlight. 11:12 p.m., a muffled sound. Not the elevator, closer. The soft slide of the lock turning. Amara shot to her feet, heart hammering. Nathan. The door opened. He stepped inside, silent, his face unreadable in the dim light. No blood, no limp. His shirt was rumpled, the line of his jaw tense, but he was whole. Relief hit her so hard it came out sharp. What happened? What did they want? He closed the door behind him and leaned against it, exhaling slowly. Nothing you can fix, nothing you should try to. She crossed the room in 3 quick steps. That's not an answer. His eyes met hers, dark and steady. It's the only one you're getting tonight. Amara's hand shot out before she could stop herself, gripping his arm. His muscles were tight under her fingers, like a coiled wire. You promised, and I'll keep it, he said quietly. But not now. Something in his tone, low, controlled, carrying the weight of a decision already made, stilled her protest. She realized then this wasn't defiance. This was protection. Her voice softened despite herself. Nathan, is it about you or about me? His jaw ticked. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then both, the single syllable, felt heavier than the whole city skyline outside their window. Amara let go of his arm slowly, her fingers brushing down to his hand before falling away. You're going to tell me. Tomorrow? He gave a single nod. Tomorrow, for a long moment, neither moved. The distance between them felt electric, charged with unspoken things. Finally, Nathan pushed off the door and moved past her, toward the bed. He stripped off his shirt in one motion, the lamplight catching the scar across his shoulder again. This time she didn't look away. He slid under the duvet without a word. After a moment's hesitation, she followed, lying on her side, facing him across the narrow expanse of sheets. Her voice was barely a whisper. Nathan, if the rumors aren't true. She hesitated, the words catching on pride and curiosity alike. What are you hiding? His eyes opened slowly, catching hers in the dim light. For a second, she thought he might finally answer. Instead, he murmured, Sleep, Amara. And for the first time in years, she obeyed someone's command without. A fight. Morning crept in on a veil of soft gold. The curtains stirred gently with the breeze, and the faint sound of the city waking filled the edges of the silence. Amara blinked awake slowly. Her first thought wasn't of the gala, the note, or even her uncle in the guest room. It was of the steady rhythm beside Hertha, quiet, measured breaths of Nathan Cole. For a moment she stayed still, taking in the rare sight of him unguarded. His jaw, usually set in stone, was relaxed. A strand of dark hair fell across his forehead. The scar at his shoulder seemed softer in the morning light. She realized with a jolt that she had moved closer in her sleep. Their faces were barely a foot apart. One more shift and she'd be in his arms. As if sensing her gaze, his eyes opened. Dark, alert, even before full consciousness settled in. A soldier's reflex. Morning, he said, voice low and rough with sleep. Morning, she echoed. For a few seconds, neither moved. Then the sound of a knock on the door shattered the fragile quiet. Amara. A familiar voice called, deep and commanding. Uncle Adot. Her eyes widened. Nathan was already moving. In a smooth, practiced motion, he shifted closer, his arm sliding over her waist, pulling her against his chest. It was instinctive, protective, and entirely convincing. Amara's breath caught not from fear this time, but from the warmth of his skin against hers. Yes, uncle. She called, praying. Her voice sounded steady. Prayer time is done. Breakfast in 15. I want to meet this husband of yours properly. The senator's voice boomed through the door. Nathan's lips tilted in the faintest smirk, his breath brushing her temple. Guess the show continues. Guess so, she whispered back. Footsteps retreated. Silence returned, thicker this time, charged with something neither wanted to name. Nathan didn't move his arm immediately. She didn't tell him to. Finally, he pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. Whatever happens today, keep calm. No questions in front of him. Amara nodded. Fine, but after breakfast. His expression shifted, something unreadable in his gaze. After breakfast, he said softly, and for the first time. She wondered if the secret waiting between them was big enough to rewrite everything she thought this marriage was supposed to be. The breakfast table was a stage. Uncle A sat at the head like a king presiding over a small kingdom. His silver hair was perfectly combed, his white caftan crisp, and his sharp eyes missed nothing. Beside him, Amara's father, Governor Davis, looked uneasy, sipping his tea too often. Nathan and Amara entered together. Nathan's hand rested at the small of her back, steady and natural. The contact burned through the thin silk of her morning dress, a detail she forced herself to ignore. "Ah, there they are," Uncle A said, voice booming. "The newlyweds." Nathan inclined his head respectfully. "Senator Attawal." "Uncle," the man corrected with a firm smile. "Family now?" His gaze flicked between them, weighing, measuring. "Sit. Let me look at you properly." Amara slid into her chair with practiced grace. Nathan remained standing for a heartbeat longer, scanning the room, then sat beside her. Uncle A clasped his hands. "Marriage is no small thing, Nathan, especially to this one." He nodded toward Amara, his tone half admiring, half warning. "She's fire wrapped in silk. A man can burn if he isn't careful." Nathan's lips tilted in the faintest smile. "I don't scare easy." Something in his tone made the senator's eyes sharpen with interest. "Good, because this family doesn't need another man who folds under pressure." His gaze lingered on Nathan's broad shoulders, the soldier's posture he couldn't quite hide. Amara watched them quietly, heart beating faster than she liked. She had never seen Uncle A study anyone like this, not even her father. Breakfast was served. The clinking of silverware filled the air for a moment before the senator spoke again. "Tell me, Nathan, what do you value most in a marriage?" Nathan didn't look up from cutting his eggs. Loyalty? A pause. Then Uncle A chuckled. "Good answer. And what do you fear most?" Amara's fingers tightened around her fork. She turned to Nathan, waiting. He lifted his eyes to meet the senator's, losing the chance to protect the people I care about. For a heartbeat, the room felt frozen. Uncle A leaned back, studying him with a new, thoughtful weight. "Maybe you're not just a bodyguard after all." Nathan said nothing, but Amara felt the words like a ripple under her skin. Her father cleared his throat. "Well, we're all family now. No need to interrogate the poor man." Uncle A's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Interrogation reveals truth, Charles, and I like truth in my family." His eyes flicked to Nathan again, especially when there are secrets in the air. Amara stiffened. Nathan's hand slid under the table, brushing her knee lightly, not intimate, but a signal. "Stay calm." She forced a smile. "Uncle, the only secret here is my mother's pancake recipe." Uncle A laughed, the tension breaking for now. But his gaze lingered on both of them, like a man who knew more than he let on. As the breakfast conversation drifted to politics and business, Amara leaned ever so slightly toward Nathan. After breakfast, she whispered. He didn't look at her, but his quiet reply was firm. After breakfast. Breakfast dragged on longer than Amara expected. Uncle A filled the room with stories of Abuja politics and sharp commentary on the real estate market. Through it all, Nathan played his part calm, collected, answering when addressed, his hand occasionally resting on Amara's chair in a gesture that looked natural to anyone watching. But she could feel the storm brewing under his calm surface. Every brush of his fingers, every measured glance at her, screamed of the note in her clutch upstairs and the midnight meeting he hadn't told her about yet. When the plates were cleared, and the senator finally stood, announcing his plan to visit the governor's study, Amara exhaled a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. As soon as the door closed behind her uncle and father, Nathan leaned in slightly, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Library, 10 minutes. Amara nodded once. Her heart raced. The library smelled of cedar and old money. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, pooling across rows of leather-bound books. Nathan stood near the far wall, hands braced on the polished mahogany desk. Amara closed the door behind her. Talk. He turned, eyes darker than she'd ever seen them. The note wasn't random. Her stomach tightened. Then what was it? It's connected to Kandahar. His voice was flat, heavy with something she couldn't name. The rumors, she whispered. It's not the way you think. He moved closer, the weight of his presence filling the room. Someone knows what really happened that night. And they're using it to get to me or to us. Us, she repeated, her pulse kicking up. So I am part of this now. His jaw worked. You were the second you said my name at the altar. She stepped closer until there were only inches between them. Nathan, what truth are they? Threatening to bury? He hesitated just for a heartbeat. Then that night in Kandahar, the blast wasn't an accident. And someone doesn't want me digging any deeper. The room seemed to tilt slightly. Amara gripped the edge of the desk to steady herself. Before she could respond, the door creaked. Both of them turned sharply. Uncle A stood there, one brow raised, a faint, knowing smile tugging his lips. Interesting, he said slowly, stepping inside. Secrets over breakfast are one thing. Secrets in the library, that's another matter entirely. Amara's breath caught. Nathan's body shifted just slightly, a subtle move that put him between her and the door. The senator's eyes gleamed. Tell me, Nathan. What exactly? Are you hiding? Nathan didn't move from his place in front of her. His voice when it came was calm. Some things, Senator, are better left in the past. Uncle A stepped further into the library, closing the door behind him with deliberate slowness. The soft click echoed in the room. Ah, the older man said, hands clasped behind his back. That's the voice of a man guarding something more precious than pride. His gaze slid to Amara. And you know, don't you? Amara kept her chin high. I know enough to trust him. The faintest smirk touched Nathan's lips. Gone in an instant. Uncle I circled the desk, his voice low, almost conversational. Trust is a fragile thing, my dear, especially in a marriage like yours. Like ours. Amara asked, tone sharp. A marriage built on appearances. Contracts, power plays. He waved a hand dismissively. I've seen them all. He stopped in front of Nathan. But this? His finger pointed between them. This feels different, and that worries me. Nathan's jaw flexed. With respect, Senator, what happens between my wife and me isn't your battlefield. Uncle A's eyes narrowed at the word wife. Then, unexpectedly, he chuckled. Careful, Nathan Cole. You're starting to sound like you actually mean it. The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, the senator stepped back, straightening his cuffs. Whatever it is you're hiding, remember this. In our world, secrets don't stay buried forever. And when they surface, his eyes locked on Nathan's scarred shoulder, barely visible beneath the edge of his shirt. They either destroy you or define you. He opened the door and left without another word. Amara let out a shaky breath. She didn't realize she was holding Dot. Nathan turned to her, voice low. We don't have much time before whoever sent that note makes their move. Amara met his eyes. For the first time since their wedding, the teasing edge in her gaze was gone. Then tell me everything, Nathan, she said softly. No more walls. No more rumors. Start with Kandahar. Nathan's eyes stayed on hers for a long moment. The weight of her demand hung between them, heavy as the air before a storm. Kandahar wasn't just another mission, he said finally, voice low and edged with something raw. We were sent to secure a convoy routine, until it wasn't. Someone fed us the wrong intel. My unit walked straight into an ambush. Amara stayed silent, her fingers curling against the desk. I lost 8 men in under 4 minutes, he continued. The blast, it wasn't random. It was placed. We were meant to die there, all of us. Her breath hitched. But you didn't. No, I crawled out. Burned, bleeding, half-conscious. I made it to the extraction point. When I woke up in the hospital, they told me I was lucky. His laugh was humorless. Lucky. The rest of my team went home in coffins. She reached out without thinking, her hand brushing his arm. Nathan. He didn't flinch this time. The rumors about Miabot being broken, they started after that. I let them. It's better for people to think I was ruined than to dig into what really happened. Amara's voice softened. And now someone knows the truth. He nodded once. And they want something in exchange for silence. Tonight at midnight, I'll find out what. Her grip on his arm tightened. You're not going alone. His gaze snapped to hers. Amara, no. Her tone brooked no argument. Whoever sent that note thinks they can use your past to control you. That means they think they can control us. And if we show up divided, we lose before we even start. For a heartbeat, the soldier in him battled the instinct to shield her. Then, slowly, he nodded. Fine, midnight. But you follow my lead. A slow, dangerous smile curved her lips. Deal. The clock on the wall ticked softly each second, pulling them closer to the moment that would either bind them together or tear everything apart. Midnight came, cloaked in silver. The terrace stretched wide and quiet under the moonlight, the city humming far below like a distant heartbeat. Nathan stepped out first, scanning the shadows with a soldier's precision. Amara followed, her silk robe whispering against stone, hair loose and wild in the cool breeze. No one. Then a figure emerged from the far corner. Slim, poised, face obscured beneath the brim of a wide hat. You came. The voice was low, feminine, carrying an edge of satisfaction. Nathan stepped in front of Amara instinctively. You sent the note. Talk. The woman laughed softly. Straight. To business, always the soldier. She lifted her head and the moonlight caught her features. Not a stranger. Not entirely. Amara's breath hitched. You. Nathan's shoulders went rigid. Alina? The name hung in the air like a blade. Major Alina Vasquez. The woman Nathan had mentioned in passing. The sister of the emerald gowned. Stranger? Amara's eyes narrowed. What game is this? Elena's smile was sharp. No game. A warning. The ambush in Kandahar wasn't a mistake. It was a cover-up. And now the same people who buried the truth know you're back in. The spotlight, Nathan. Marrying the governor's daughter made you visible again. Nathan's voice was ice. What do they want? To finish what they started, she glanced at Amara, her expression unreadable. And they won't hesitate to go through her to do it. Amara's spine stiffened, but her voice was steady. Let them try. Alina's gaze lingered on her for a beat as if weighing something. Then she slipped a small flash drive from her coat and pressed it into Nathan's hand. Everything you need is on there. Names, files, proof. But once you open it, there's no going back. She stepped away, fading into the shadows as quickly as she appeared. Amara turned to Nathan. What's on it? He stared at the drive, jaw tight. The truth. The kind that gets people killed. Her hand slid into his, deliberate, steady. Then we face it together. For the first time that night, Nathan looked at her not as his boss, not as a contract bride, but as someone standing in the line of fire with him by choice. And something deep inside him shifted. Nathan didn't speak right away. The flash drive felt like a live wire between his fingers. Finally, he closed his hand around it and looked at Amara not as a shield, not as a liability, but as an equal. Inside, he said quietly, We'll go through it together. They stepped back into the penthouse. The city's glow spilled in through the glass walls, bathing everything in a blue haze. Nathan led them to his private study, one of the few places in the apartment he'd claimed as his own. Dark wood, clean lines, no distractions. Amara slid into the leather chair beside him as he plugged the flash drive into the secure laptop. A folder blinked open. Operation Black Sun. Nathan's breath caught. "What is it?" Mara asked, her eyes scanning the list of subfolders. "Classified missions. Black Ops. Ones that never made it into official records," he said, jaw clenched. This was above even my clearance. He clicked into a folder titled Kandahar, Recovered Logs. Surveillance footage. Intercepted comes. Satellite maps. And at the bottom, a personnel list, his name capped. Nathaniel Cole, highlighted. Next to it, a green tag, sacrificed, status, deceased. Amara's hand flew to her mouth. "They listed you as dead." Nathan's voice was a whisper. "They never meant for me to survive." Line by line, they read the internal memo. Cover must remain intact. All Cole's unit to be eliminated. Operation funded by private contractor. Mission, remove threats. Secure oil corridor. If Cole survives, discredit or erase. No ties to Dave's family. Amara's heart thudded. My family. Nathan's face turned to stone. Your father. Governor Davis, they didn't want any connection back to him. Someone on his board funded the hit. Used my team as bait. She stood abruptly. No, my father wouldn't. He's a lot of things, but it might not have been him, Nathan said evenly. But it was someone close enough to shield behind his name. She paced the room, the robe swirling around her ankles. And now they think you'll expose it. That's why Alina came. They're getting nervous, Nathan said. This drive is insurance. It's also bait. He shut the laptop and turned to face her fully. They're watching us. Waiting. To see if we act, Amara's voice steadied. Then we make them wait. Nathan frowned. Amara, she moved closer, eyes fierce. You said once this marriage was just a contract. Tonight. We're a threat. Together. You want to disappear? Too late. You want to protect me. Then let me stand with you. Nathan's hands found her waist. Tentative at first. You don't know what you're stepping into. She stepped closer. Then show me. His fingers tightened, breath shallow. For the first time since they met, he didn't hold back not. His fear, not his heat, not the storm behind his calm. He kissed her. Not politely, not contractually. But like a man who'd been holding his breath for far too long. And for once, Amara didn't have the upper hand. Her mind blurred. Control. Shattered. She kissed him back with everything she'd never said out loud. When they finally broke apart, the air between them was crackling. We're in this now, she whispered, forehead against his. Nathan nodded. Then we burn their lies together. From outside, unseen, a camera lens blinked red in the darkness. They weren't alone. And the game had just begun. The next morning dawned soft and gray, rain sliding down the glass walls of the penthouse. Nathan was already awake, seated at the edge of the bed with the flash drive balanced between his fingers like a weight he couldn't put down. Amara stirred behind him, satin sheets rustling. Her voice was low, still rough with sleep. Tell me you didn't stay up all night staring at that thing. He glanced over his shoulder. Her hair was a dark tumble against the pillow's robe, slipping just enough to show bare shoulder. For a fleeting second, it almost looked normal. A husband, a wife, morning light. But nothing about them was normal. Nathan slipped the drive into his pocket. Can't afford not to. She sat up, tying the robe loosely. What's the plan? He turned fully to face her. First, we find out who's behind this. Which means we dig into every member of your father's circle, business partners, board members, donors. Amara's brows knit together. You think it's one of them? I know it is. Nathan's voice was iron. Someone paid for my unit. Dudai, someone tied to the Davis Empire. Amara stood, walking to the window. Rain streaked her reflection into blurred shadows. This is true. If my family's name is tied to this. She swallowed hard. If we can't take this public yet, okay? My father's enemies would tear him apart before we even found the real. 1. Nathan rose, coming to stand behind her. I'm not looking to ruin your father. I'm looking for the truth. And the truth doesn't care about politics. She turned, eyes sharp, despite the fear under them. Then we find it first. Before they make their move, he reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. A small gesture, quiet, grounding. Amara, once we open this door, there's no closing it. Her lips curved, a small, dangerous smile. Then let's kick it off the hinges. Before either could say more, a sharp knock rattled the door. Nathan stiffened instantly, instincts flaring. Came a servant's voice from the hall. Governor Davis is here. He says it's urgent. Amara's head whipped toward Nathan. His jaw tightened. Neither of them moved for a heartbeat. Showtime, she whispered. Nathan's hand brushed hers, once a silent promise. Then he straightened, shoulders squaring into a soldier's stance as the door opened. Governor Charles Davis stepped. Inside, rain dripping from his coat. Okay? His eyes landed on Nathan, then on his daughter. We need to talk, the governor said grimly. Both of you. There's been a leak. Nathan's spine went rigid. What kind of leak? Governor Davis moved further into the room, his face drawn tight. He didn't sit, didn't take off his coat. That alone told Nathan how serious this was. Someone has been feeding classified information to the press, Charles said. Not about the company, not politics. About you, Nathan. Amara's stomach dropped. What kind of information? Her father's eyes met Nathan's, steady but wary. Your unit, Kandahar. The rumors you've spent years burying. Someone's painting a story that you're alive because you made. A deal that you traded lives for immunity. Nathan's jaw clenched hard enough to ache. That's a lie. I know. Charles's voice was firm. But lies don't matter when people want blood. This spreads, the board will demand an investigation. And if there's any trace of Davis money anywhere near your name, they'll connect it to you, Nathan finished. Amara stepped forward, sharp and cold. Who has access to this kind of intel? Charles hesitated. Only a handful of people. All of them close. Nathan watched him carefully. You mean your inner circle? Charles didn't deny. He glanced at his daughter, then back at Nathan. Whatever this is, someone is moving fast, which means we have to move faster. If you have anything, Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out the flash drive. Charles's eyes widened. Where did you get that? Gift from an old ghost, Nathan said. It has everything. Kandahar. The hit. The cover-up, Charles's face went pale. Then they'll kill to get it back. Amara stepped between. Then we don't let them. Find out who ordered this, and we burn them to the ground. Her father's voice dropped to a whisper. Amara, you don't understand. If this is tied to the family, if this leads back to me. She met his gaze unflinching. Then we find the truth anyway. Because whoever set this up tried to erase Nathan. Tried to erase a part of me too. Nathan looked at her sharply at that. Something unreadable in his eyes. Charles exhaled, running a hand down his face. Fine, but you both listen to me. If we go after this, there's no turning back. Friends will become enemies. Blood won't matter. Nathan's voice was low, lethal. Blood already doesn't matter. My men are dead. For a moment, the only sound was rain against glass. Charles straightened, resolve hardening. Then, we start tonight. There's a board dinner at the estate. Everyone who could have ordered this will be there. And now, he glanced between them, something dangerous flickering in his gaze. Now you both get to play a part. Amara tilted her head. What part? Charles's smile was thin and ruthless. The perfect married couple with nothing to hide and everything to lose.